All right, so today we're going to be ranking all the assault rifles in Tarkov in a rank of S to C. I didn't go below D because I feel like with the new recoil system that there aren't really any bad guns other than like, you know, straight up if just the ammo's bad. But we're going to be ranking all the full auto assault rifles from S to C, and there is one haven't used spot because there is one gun that I haven't used, and you will see that in the video. So anyways, we are starting off with the AKS. And I should preface that when it comes to guns that have different variations, like the AKS that has like 4 different types, this just goes for all the AKSs. I'm not going to rank every single AKS individually. I'm just going to take one and then rank it for all of them. Just because why would I rank them individually, you know? So for the AKS, as you know, the best AKS is the AKS 74UB. So I'm going to give this a solid A. The reason I'm giving it an A is because it's cheap to build, pretty good ammo, and, you know, recoil-wise, it's really good. So I feel like a combination of all of that makes it a really good gun. I personally really like it. It's one of my go-to guns whenever I'm looking for something to build. Next, we have the AS Val and the VSS. I'm just going to combine those two as well. I know they're like kind of different, but they're similar enough. I'm actually going to rank both of those. I'm going to rank the AS Val as an S. I was debating A because it shoots really fast, so you do tend to burn through ammo. But I think it's just so good that it can't go in A, especially with the new recoil. Old recoil, yeah, I could have put it A, maybe even B, because it was just like really bad to use. But with new recoil, definitely an S. The Ash 12, I'm honestly going to give the Ash 12 a B. I give it a B because there's only one really like viable ammo once you get late in the wipe, or PS12B. And I feel like with there only being one good ammo, that kind of makes the gun, you know, like, sure, you can use the other types, and I'm sure they're not bad. But if you really want to make sure that you kill people that have, like, any decent armor, you know, you have to be using PS12B. And then on top of that, it's really heavy. Like, you'll be going into raid. If you bring the Ash 12 and, like, maybe 2 or 3 mags, you'll be walking in, like if that's all you bring, you'll be, like, high 20s in terms of weight. So I feel like that's what makes it a B for me. I do like the gun, but I do think it's B tier. Next, we have the Mutant. Just gonna rank that S tier. Pretty straightforward, really good. Been meta for the last couple wipes. Really strong, really good in PvP. Next, we have the M4. I'm gonna give the M4 an S as well. We have a lot of S's. I think just overall, there's, at least compared to the HK, there's a lot more variation you can do with it, and it tends to be better. Like, it's a more well-rounded gun. You know, you can do ergo builds, you can do recoil builds, you can do one that's, you know, good recoil, good ergo. So I feel like it's got, you know, a good overall way to build the gun. For the SA-58, I'm going to put it A tier. And while it is good and it shreds people, I'm putting it A tier purely because the ergo isn't very good on it for the most part. You can do ergo builds that make it more viable. If you want a decent gun build, you kind of have to suffer on the ergo. And me personally, I really like having a decently high ergo on my guns. So that's why I'm putting it A tier. Next up, we have the 5.56 MDR. I'm going to put that B tier. It is good. It's really cheap to run, which is, you know, also an upside. You just kind of throw, you know, any suppressor you want on there, a sight and a grip, and you're good to go. Only downside to that is it's really slow fire rate compared to the 2 other, like, mainstream 5.56 guns that you're going to see in raid. So that's what makes it a B tier for me. I actually really like running this gun as well if I'm looking for, like, a budget 5.56. The 7.62 MDR, I'm actually going to put this in S tier, because especially now, since there's new mags out for it, that you can have the 25 rounders. I think it's a lot more viable to use. I think the 25 rounders make it a lot better, and there's also just not a whole lot customization that you have to do to it. You know, you just throw a sight on there, a suppressor, a grip, flashlight, you're good to go. And of course, it shoots 7.62 by 51, so that makes it a really strong gun. Now, the 5.56 Scar. Where do I want to put the 5.56 Scar? I think I'm going to put a B tier, but I'm going to put it in front of both of these guns. It's not too heavy. It's 5.56. I'm pretty sure it shoots faster than the MDR, and it has a little bit more customization to it. This is kind of just a preference thing. I like the Scar better than the 5.56 MDR, so that's why I'm putting it ahead of the 5.56 MDR. Really easy to customize. The only thing that's making it A tier is I feel like ergo on it's really hurting a lot. Most builds you do, you tend to have really low ergo, and then it's also really expensive. The gun itself is like $1,700, which is kind of expensive. Next, we have the HK. I'm gonna put the HK, hot take maybe, I'll put in an A tier. And as I said earlier, for the M4, what the HK suffers from the most, well, yes, it's really good, it has a really fast fire rate, shred through people. It suffers from ergo, and I'm a big ergo guy on my builds, so that's why I usually tend to stay away from the HK. I do still use it, and I do still like it, but that's why I'm putting it below the M4 and A tier, just because of the ergo. Next, we have the G36. I'm going to put C tier. I don't think it's that great. I think if you're going to use a 5.56 gun, you can use any of these other ones up above it, the SCAR, MDR, HK, M4. I think you're better off using any of those. The only reason I think you'd want to use the G36 is just because, like, why not? It's in the game. I want to try something different. I'm going to use it. Next, we have the AK-101. Now, I actually really like the AK-101. I would say the biggest downside to running the AK-101 is that you only have the 30-round mags, and that's what is keeping it far down on the list for me. So I'm actually going to put this at a B tier above the Ash 12. I'm actually going to put this above the SCAR. Really hot take, probably. I really like the AK-101. Again, it's just those 30-round mags, man. Those 60-rounders, when you're using them, they come in really handy. Next, we have the AK-12. Another 5.45 by 39 gun. I'm gonna put this in A tier. I'll fix this list at the end. Next, we have all the AKs. This is just the AK-74, but this goes for all the AK-74 variants. I'm gonna put this in A tier as well. I feel like for the most part, it usually gets dominated by 5.56, but especially this wipe, I feel like it's way better. So that's why I'm putting it in A tier. I don't think it's better than like an M4, so that's why it's not going in S tier, but I do think it's still solid. Next, we have an AKM. Honestly, I'm going to put the AKM in B tier. And the reason for that, for how much modding you kind of have to do to make it somewhat decent, I feel like you're better off just running like a mutant or an RD at that point. Next, we have the RD. This is an automatic S tier. Been one of the meta guns for the last few, pretty much since it's been added. It's been one of the meta guns in the game. So that's pretty self-explanatory. If something's meta, clearly, you know, it's really good. So that's why it's going S tier. Next, we have the MCX. Really like using the MCX. I haven't used it this wipe. I've heard it's a lot better. I'm thinking B or C. I'm going to run it B tier. All right, so next we have the Spear, and this is where the haven't used column comes into play. I haven't actually used this. I assume it's pretty good. From what I've seen, everybody really likes it. I've just personally never used it yet, so don't really have an opinion on it. Can't give an opinion on it. Lastly, we have the AUG. I'm going to put this in the same tier as the G36. I'll be real, I actually really don't even like the AUG. I think it's worse than G36, and the same as the G36. If you're going to run the AUG, I think you're better off using any of the other 5.56 guns. All right, now that we got our list made, I'm going to take the time and actually organize them in what I think is best to worst in each row. So now this is my final list. As you can see, I put the M4 as the top S tier. I think the M4 is probably just the best well-rounded gun in the game at the moment, and it has been for a while. You know, that could change, but at the moment, I do think it is the best in the game. But anyways, that is my tier list on all the assault rifles in Tarkov. If you guys would have done something different, let me know down in the comments, and I will also post in the description a link to this tier list if you would like to make it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and good luck in your Tarkov raids.